So now that we know how to customize our brushes and make our own brushes, let's see if we can put them to work. Rather than using our simple rounded brush, I'm going to be using some of these custom pre-made brushes. The ones that in 1 or 2 strokes can give me the textures and things like this. Here's how we can use them. I've created just some simple spheres and I've blocked in their highlights, their midtones, and their shadows. I haven't even done a good job. All I've done is given me an indication where each little area is. What we're going to do is use our custom made brushes to give a painterly, almost stippled kind of texture effect to each little area as it blends together. So I'm going to select one of them. We'll use this bottom one first. Let's see, turn that one off. Well, looks like we're going to use the top one first. Select your appropriate area. Next, I've got my brush tool selected, and I'm going to use my option key to pick up the local color that I need. So if I wanted to say blend these darker areas, we'll scale down my tool. Now as I start to paint, you can see it will paint in and blend in that area. I can also pick up my midtone and push it back just a little bit more. This is going to create a good little texture, and all I'm doing is working back and forth between the lights and the darks to blend those 2 areas in. Next, just choose your midtone and work around that one. Maybe pick up some the darker areas and push that forward. It'll take a little bit of time, but eventually you'll have that edge nice and blocked off, and it will start to blend in with the other one. If I wanted to, I could turn on my opacity pressure sensitivity and pick up a little bit more blending in that area. Let's get the highlight. Select the highlight and start blending that together. Maybe get a midtone and put some on top of that, working it back and forth. Like I said, this will take a couple of passes, but what you're left with is a great stippled, if this was an actual acrylic painting, this is called scumbled type of effect. You can't get this very easily using a regular brush tool. Only with using these custom made brushes, custom scattering effects can you do this type of effect. It takes a little bit of practice, but what I've done now is I've gone from having a solid blocked off area to a well faded type of area, one through the other. The second thing I can do, I'm going to turn on my other layer, is rather than using my brush tool, we're going to use the smudge tool. The smudge tool looks like a little finger that's, it's kind of as the name would suggest. It's like you're smudging your colors together. Think of it as if you've ever played around with paint or with chalk. You can take your finger, smudge things, and it will blend it together nicely. The smudge tool acts just like a regular brush tool. By that you can choose the size and hardness of whatever brush you're working with. You can also set the strength of how much you want to smudge. Right now I'm going to keep it pretty high, actually around 80 or so percent. Also pay attention to either you're sampling all the layers or you're not. In this case I only want to work on the layer that I'm working on, and I'm going to turn off finger painting. I tend to find that to be a little bit too much, so I rarely turn that one on. With this tool I can now zoom in on my area, and we'll work on this one. And instead of picking up a color, all I'm going to do is work with the colors that are already on the layer, simply clicking and dragging over it. And you can see that sometimes it works a little slow, but it's going to smudge between those 2 areas. Since I'm not using a regular round brush, it's smudging it kind of in a textured format. And this is a great way of blending things together in a more natural type feel. Even if I got my darker area, all I'm doing is going over the edges, very, very softly blending those 2 together. Let's do the highlight. Get the highlight. Now the highlight is nice and blended together as well. This is going to come in handy when we start doing our portrait drawings, because sometimes you want to block in those shadows, but you also want to have a very natural feel for blending the colors on a person's face. This also works great if I've got a more dynamic type texture, like this one tends to, there we go, add a little bit more painterly type of effect. What I'm going for isn't a true painting. I don't want it to look 100%. I want to have these little bits of texture, little bits of things that cause my eye to come in and actually do the blending by itself. That's what makes something look very, very artistic. If I needed to, I could go back over it with a brush tool. Let's see, let's pick up some of this color. I got my regular brush, there we go. Pick it up, maybe paint on a little bit more color, swap back over to my smudge tool, and then smudge that together. Whew, obviously that one's really, really big, so let's undo that. You do want to pay attention to the size of your brush and also how much it's smudging. If I think it's smudging too much, maybe I'll bring the strength down and then go back over it again and blend that a little bit more. Two different techniques. You can see the top one gives me a nice scumbled, very textured type look. Using the smudge tool, however, also gives me a well blended, but they're also a smoother type texture with using both of these. So I hope this helps you out on this next coming up project.